Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping is Rule 2 in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Now, when I hear this, I actually hear two different possible interpretations. So I want to talk about both of those today. Hello, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley stage sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. Now, the first interpretation that we can take with this rule, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. You can hear in this, and this is something that Jordan Peterson talks about in the chapter, is treat yourself like someone else you're responsible for helping, because all too often we will treat others better than we will treat ourselves. And he goes into some of the more ancient pathways and ancient stories that get into this, but I want to talk about some of the more common modern reasons for why we would treat others better than we treat ourselves. And that's because today, superficiality and finding validation from outside ourselves is the focus. It's the number one main focus. Your outside appearance. Who's gonna love you? Who's gonna validate you? How are people gonna look at you? What are people gonna think of you? These are the kinds of things that we are brought up with, even when they're posed to us in the form of what can you do to reach the heights. It's all coming from this place of outside validation rather than inside validation. Like, what honors can you achieve? What even diplomas can you get? What certifications can you get? What can you do to signify to the outside world that you are valid, worthy, and worth something? And this is sad that society, the world, is built on this now, because that's not the healthy way. The healthy way is to get the validation from within, and have any possible validation from outside of yourself just be an awesome bonus, but completely unnecessary. And this can take a long time to get to. I don't expect anybody to achieve this overnight, but it is what we're striving for, especially as spiritually centered people. So, as Jordan Peterson goes into in the chapter, we even treat our animals better than we treat ourselves when it comes to taking to the vet and giving them prescriptions. Did you know that we actually will more likely make sure that our animals have their medications on time than we will make sure that we have our medications on time or take them at all? One of the things that he talks about that was really striking to me, really personal for me, was this idea that doctors will wonder why. And we have this idea that, a doctor, a pharmacist, a clinician of any kind is supposed to make sure that their client, their patient, is successful. And as he talks about, psychologists actually have a better chance of this, as do spiritual teachers and life coaches, and I mean specifically not life coaches, not just this random coach thing that everybody associates with life coaches. Counselors, because we spend more time with our clients than most other doctors do over time and consistently within that time. So that gives us a better chance of our clients having success than other physicians, doctors, clinicians, coaches, because we actually get to work with them on a plan over time. But one of the things that I talk about is that readiness when I am calling out to all my potential clients. Because the bottom line is that there's nothing I can do to make sure that my client is doing what they need to do. This is something that I talk about with my mentors, and I've heard other people talk about. The fact that there is nothing we can do to get our clients to use the tools we offer them. There's nothing we can do. There's no amount of advice. If you're not ready, you're not going to do it. And I've talked about this before recently. So this idea we have floating out there in the world that anybody who's helping someone to become more healthy is responsible for that, it's quite honestly ludicrous. Because if we have someone come to us that says we need help and they're not actually ready for help, no matter how much they say they are, they're just internally not ready. And I've been through this myself. They're not going to do what needs to be done, or they're going to relapse on whatever is relapsable. This could be not only just drugs, but emotional addictions, like relationships, codependency, things like that. So when it comes to how this ties back into treating yourself like someone you're responsible for helping, this very much applies to what he talks about, which is that we will treat other people that we feel responsible for helping better than we will treat ourselves. But this ties into my other interpretation of this, which is that we need to treat ourselves like we are responsible for helping ourselves. Because for some reason we get this idea in our heads that we can let that go. And that's what self-care is all about. That's what my intuitive lifestyle course is all about, and why I created it. Because we need to get better at treating ourselves like it's a responsibility of ours to take care of ourselves. And not in just these like flowery, like bubble bath massages sort of ways, but the actual daily self-care that happens, like upholding your boundaries, things like that. Those moments of meditation, and I mean the really, really quick ones where you take that deep breath and reset in any given moment, just to get present throughout the day. So I have a little excerpt from this chapter that I want to read to you before we end this. Treat yourself as if you were someone you are responsible for helping is instead to consider what would be truly good for you. I talk about this often when it comes to other people. And that goes back to this interpretation of the fact that we do more and better for others often than we do for ourselves. This is not what you want. It is not what would make you happy. Every time you give a child something sweet, you make that child happy. That does not mean you should do nothing for children except feed them candy. Happy is by no means synonymous with good. You must get children to brush their teeth. They must put on their snowsuits, when they go outside in the cold, even though they might object strenuously. You must help a child become a virtuous, responsible, awake being capable of full reciprocity, able to take care of himself, herself, and others, and to thrive while doing so. Why would you think it acceptable to do anything less for yourself? You need to consider the future and think, what might life look like if I were caring for myself properly? What career would challenge me and render me productive and helpful so that I could shoulder my share of the load and enjoy the consequences. And remember, consequences, most of the time we associate the word consequences with bad. I want to do a whole video on this. I wonder if I ever did, because it's a good idea for a whole video. Consequences does not mean bad. Consequences just means outcomes following, the results of something. The results of an action. That's all consequences are. Results of actions. What should I be doing when I have some freedom to improve my health, expand my knowledge, and strengthen my body? You need to know where you are so you can start to chart your course. You need to know who you are so that you can understand your armament and bolster yourself in respect to your limitations. You need to know where you are going so that you can limit the extent of chaos in your life, restructure order, and bring the divine force of hope to bear on the world. You must determine where you are going so that you can bargain for yourself, so that you don't end up resentful, vengeful, or cruel. You have to articulate your own principles so that you can defend yourself against others taking inappropriate advantage of you, and so that you are secure and safe while you work and play. You must discipline yourself carefully. You must keep the promises you make to yourself and reward yourself so that you can trust and motivate yourself. You need to determine how to act towards yourself so that you are most likely to become and stay a good person. It would be good to make the world a better place. Heaven, after all, will not arrive of its own accord. We will have to work to bring it about and strengthen ourselves so that we can withstand the deadly angels and flaming swords of judgment that God used to bar its entrance. Don't underestimate the power of vision and direction. This, I always found a beautiful passage and interesting, because that is exactly how I set up my intuitive lifestyle course, having never read this book before. It is the basis. This passage always reminds me of my intuitive lifestyle course, because that's everything that I intend to do by offering, or intend for people to do for themselves in my offering them this tool. I have it set up so that you can figure out what your belief systems are, your values are, your priorities are, so that you can figure out what your boundaries need to be so that you can live healthy and happy. Because when all of our systems are healthy, happiness comes naturally. When we make sure that we treat ourselves like someone that we are responsible for helping, which we are, we and no one else are responsible for helping us. When we realize that, and when we realize that we all too often treat others better than we treat ourselves, we start to realize why all of a sudden we crave all of this validation from outside of ourselves and have none that's coming from within. Because we've never built any sort of foundation for ourselves with which that could grow, be a thing at all. That is exactly why I created my intuitive lifestyle course, so that people could have that foundation of inner standing and understanding, so that we can make thriving the priority while making sure that every moment that validation is coming from within, so that we don't have to worry at any given moment about where love, or validation is going to come from. Because we know that no matter what, it's always coming from within. Because we deserve it, and we take care of ourselves. So it's always going to come from within, as long as we're alive. In this lifetime, at least. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. If you're interested in my intuitive lifestyle course, that is up and available on Patreon. I actually have both the second and the third live rounds up and available for replay. The second live round is 7 modules and pretty much the same thing as the first live round was, and a little more practical, as where I got a little more spiritual and condensed it down into 5 modules for round 3. So much amazing stuff over on Patreon. I have 4 membership tiers available. The Awakening tier, which is just $11.11 a month, and that gives you all of my one-off videos, journal exercises, guided meditations, and more. If you would like to get access to my intuitive lifestyle course, you need to be a part of either the Ascending, Sanctuary, or Enlightening tier membership. The Ascending tier membership is just $23 a month, and that gives you access to everything when it comes to both what is in the Awakening tier and my courses, workshops, mini-series. I have my Spirituality 101 and 2.0 series, as well as my meditation, any of the one-off workshops that I've done. You have access to all that, plus what was in the Awakening tier, plus some more guided meditations and journal exercises. Then I have the Sanctuary of the Awakened, which is my VIP group. That membership tier is just $32 a month, and that has everything that the Ascending and Awakening tier has to offer, plus the Sanctuary of the Awakened content itself, which is where I get a little more personal, a little more worldly, a little more awake, not woke, a little more red-pilled. And then I have the Enlightening tier membership, which gives you access to all the Ascending and Awakening tier content, as well as a single session with me once a month and access to Voxer direct messaging in between sessions to answer any questions. And the Enlightening tier membership is just $133 a month. Now, if you'd like to work with me more than once a month, I have my session packages. This commits you to a certain number of sessions, and then how often we work together and what we work on is completely customized and personalized to you. If you have any questions about working with me one-on-one and my one-on-one session packages, I have my free clarity call as well as my email available for any general questions. Speaking of which, my free clarity call I also use for dōTERRA wellness consultations. dōTERRA, if you've seen any of my videos, you might have heard me talk about, is your one-stop shop for the best, purest plant-based products in plant medicine. They are the only essential oil company on the market that is actually approved for internal use. So they truly are the best, and they actually work. If you're like me and you've been on a mission to get rid of all of those synthetic chemical products that have creeped into your home over the years and replace them with the best, purest plant-based products that actually work, this is it. dōTERRA is the place. And they're an amazing company that have an amazing mission full of amazing people. So if you have any questions, we have memberships available, including our wholesale membership, which is not just for retailers. It's for anybody who wants to get 20% off of every order every time, as well as sign up for our monthly subscribe and save option we call our LRP, our loyalty rewards program, where you get points for every monthly order, as well as the free product of the month if your order adds up to a certain amount of points, and then you can use those points for free products as well. It's amazing. If you'd like to become a dōTERRA wellness advocate, you can use my free clarity call as well. And I have my dōTERRA Witches group, which I love so much. I am teaching my diffusing and meditation class on Instagram through dōTERRA Witches this Wednesday, 2 days from now. And it's where we talk all about proactive health support, diffusing essential oils, and meditation, and so much more over on dōTERRA Witches. So come check us out on Instagram, Facebook. We do teach most of our classes on Instagram. We also have our full and new moon gatherings, as well as some other classes on Zoom. So if you're not an Instagram user, you're a Facebook user, you should definitely still go check us out over there. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube. I still want that custom URL, and YouTube tells me that that's how I get it, is 100 subscribers. So otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it, because I don't care how many subscribers I have. I care that the people who watch my videos get what they need from them. But, YouTube. I'll stop talking about it after that, I promise. I don't like talking about it. And last but not least, may the energies you serve you well, and let's keep making our way through.